Hold on. Yeah, good time to hit the record button. Good morning, everybody. Gonna take a sip of coffee. Welcome back to our public show.
Yeah, good time to hit the
Yep.
record button.
We recorded that all right. Our public offering this broiler chicken show that we do on the weekends. And as I've said before, the main purpose of this is to help the level oneers if they had any lingering questions following their class, which if I'm not mistaken, actually was yesterday. But nonetheless, they just did liquidity events, talking about exchange opening and closings and margin traders being forced to, day traders being forced to close positions heading into the bell. I'm freaking out. Or Nebraska, I'll come and knock them on the head. Anyway, I remember those days fondly. So by all means, if you guys did have any more, buy the rumor, sell the news widgets, did everybody understand the widget story? I am working in the widget store. I think I should have told you guys about the widget factory, but maybe it wasn't a widget factory. Anyway, not getting any feedback. So am I talking Greek? Is it? It is, right? It is the widget story, but I don't know. Dennis, did that story make sense to you? Do you understand the buy the rumor, sell the news kind of scenario? So anyway, for people watching on YouTube, you're like, what the hell is he going on about here? But anyway, it's one of the concepts that we teach in our education program. And like I said, I like to take time through this weekend show and just, answer any lingering questions that they might have. So sounds to me like they're good to go. Or they're just like, man, when is this guy going to get on to actually talking about the markets? Excuse me. I am going to load up the YouTube Twitter page, because also too, that's what I like to do on these weekend broiler chicken shows, is just go through sort of what I was blabbing about through the week, just so, if anybody is following on the Twitter feed, you can kind of understand what I was thinking. Sometimes I'm quote unquote right. Sometimes I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm not too opinionated, but nonetheless, definitely I've learned how to be a little more politically correct through this Twitter experience. So that's got to be a good thing. Okay, March 24th, I think, was our last one that we did. 1 week ago, March 24th. And there was the link, and it looks like a fair amount of people were interested in it. I don't know how many people actually watched this. What do you think? Was it over 1,000? You think 1,000 people watched this video? Survey says, let's see how many people watched. Woo, yeah, just over 1,000. Yeah, that's kind of cute. Well, of you 1,000 people, if I could have helped one of you, just make you make better risk management decisions, emotional decisions in the market, and I've done my job. So anyway, good to see we're getting the message out a little bit. So going through the Twitter feed, I'll just sort of try and run through this, and maybe it won't be like a 2-hour marathon. Maybe it'll just be like 45 minutes or so, which hopefully that'll be. I do have to head off, and of course, Sunday afternoons I spend with my son. So as soon as I'm done this, I literally hop in the car and head out. So obviously, big news this past week. Mr. Mueller's report was finally disseminated to, I think it's the Attorney General, U.S. Attorney General, and then he went and did a bit of a summary. I did a few tweets through the week on this. Obviously it's pretty big fundamental news event. Interestingly enough, it almost appears like I think we're going to be calling him Teflon Donnie. I don't know whether you guys remember the days of Ronald Reagan, but they used to call him Teflon Ron. Because nothing would stick, kind of thing. We might be back into those days about Donnie. Oh, God. Incredible world we live in. You can't write better fiction than reality, that's for sure. And then, of course, I tweeted out, obviously the other side's going to have their response. And, some of the interesting sort of side offs of this is now the Attorney General does a bit of a summary, and that's what's disseminated to the public. And later on through the week, I think we found out why they made that rule, which is kind of amusing. So clearly that was a big fundamental event, political sort of sentiment-wise, in the United States of America. Pretty important, I would say. Interesting, lots of talk in the media about the yield curve inversion. And I remember on Monday morning, Thomas and I sort of talked about this in our daily video interaction that we have on the site, the daily brief. I don't know whether the yield curve is actually officially inverted yet or not. And if anything, it would make complete sense that the talking heads, they jump in front of something, label the crap out of it, and it's proven wrong. I mean, that's time and time again. The gentleman who actually puts together this site that I get this dynamic yield curve off of, gentleman by the name of John Murphy. High respect for the gentleman. And I use a lot of his site's tools in my teaching, stockcharts.com. And if I was going to give an official endorsement to a professional in the marketplace, John Murphy he's basically the best of the best. And his curve actually told us fairly well. This was through the .com boom. There's an inverted signal here. Off of his software, there's March 2000 .com boom. And then, you can see here, this is through the latter days of Junior Bush's administration in the housing crisis. And you can see John's tool gave us an inverted reading here. And interestingly enough, through this, yes, the curve is getting flatter and flatter and flatter and flatter. But we haven't gotten, ironically enough, actually, this thing's still sitting at quote unquote normal. And really the question ultimately is, at the end of the day, what is the profit spread for financial institutions, especially things like life insurance companies that deal on the very long end of the curve, and mortgages, 20, 30-year paper, how the U.S. housing market's so dependent on the mortgage rate industry. And that spread technically is still positive, and on the site in our daily briefs and stuff, I talk about that too. So it's a little bit confusing right now that the public would jump so hard and so heavily on this yield curve inversion conversation. I don't see it yet. Sorry. But anyway, that's to try and explain sort of my tweets. I love Jamie. This is one of our site members, OGs. I've given him shouts out before. He's turning into just an absolutely fabulous analyst. Fabulous. In previous market cycle peaks, there's very specific events that happen in a bunch of his fundamental analysis models that he's looking for, and we're just not getting them yet. So I don't know, be careful putting a fork in this market. And now I'm starting to hear people talking about, wow, Dow could go to new highs here, no problem. Ugh, drive you crazy. Anyway, the point of the matter here is, what is it? It's March, April. This isn't really when a seasonal top comes in the market. Usually it comes in, May, June, sell in May and walk away. So that's when seasonally I'd be looking for this thing to dump. I mean, I suppose you can make the argument we are topping. But I just got to say that big shout out to Jamie, very, very smart individual. And he comes on our site, I think twice a month we have him on now, giving us a nice fundamental overview of the world. European economy, that's another conversation altogether. And I get the distinct impression from Jamie. I put out a tweet here because I thought it was funny. It was just a retweet of somebody else saying, Brexiting. Oh, it sounds like we have a new word in the English language. And that's not really that funny, but Jamie's response Because no, don't get Jamie started on Brexit. Let's put it that way. But that's just good times. You know, it's stuff like this. It's Jamie's personality. I mean, just an absolutely just fantastic person. Um, it's a huge reason why I do this and I keep doing it because you people are just so awesome. All right, I'm wasting everybody's time again. Sorry. So, if you don't follow me, follow Jamie. But like I said, maybe, I think it's twice a month or something along those lines. Jamie comes on the site and does a nice fundamental analysis review of the economy, which I just absolutely love. I think when we left off last show, I think we were at oh, hello. Somebody, hello, do you think you could maybe throw yourself on mute, please? Oh, thank you, Alex. Alex helped you out. I think last show we left off with the idea that, we got a bit of an bearish AB equals CD working here. It's not the prettiest of bought setup levels, but you can definitely see how the market set itself up off that 25 level. And I'm so proud, our shark traders on the site were zipping in and out of the market. I'll tell you, just FYI, off of these like hourly charts, these day trades, especially with Bitcoin trading 24/7, 9 times out of 10, trade alerts happen at about 2-3 o'clock in the morning for me. And I'm just absolutely overwhelmed to be day trading and living that kind of lifestyle right now. So I'm not taking these hourly setups, but nonetheless, levels are levels. Hopefully that's a benefit to people and they can sort of understand what's going on here. So, coming out of here, fairly high confidence that we're going to dip into these green box. What I like to call the reload zone, 61.8 fib. That's a good old mountain man level. All the way down to 78.6. We like to call that the line in the sand. And that also happened to correspond with a nice AB equals CD harmonic objective PRZ. And then if you take that harmonic and break it apart, you can actually create a day. It's a trading model. What time frame you use it off of will, of course, dictate whether it's a day trade, swing trade. In fact, actually, we'll even look at one of these AB equals CDs on Bitcoin in a few minutes. That's pointing bullishly. So they can go back and forth. In this case, this happened to be a bearish one. And pretty high confidence of a stab down into this area. I don't know how it played out, but that's the interesting thing about a trader's life is levels are levels. There they are. Trade if you like them, and of course it's according to your plan. So that was there, 25th of March, and then and you're done. Okay, so let's see what happened next. Oh, boom. Isn't this sick? Do you guys see that? Isn't that funny? You're just like, all right, well, it looks like it's working its way lower, and then boom. I love that about this bot. So cool. And if anything, I don't know. I'm not getting any response out of any of you guys. Is this thing on? Hello? Hey, there's Shane. Meow. Hey. Anyway, what a cool illustration of that. I mean, just damn. Boom, right into the level. And if anything, what you have to really make sure of here, anybody who's actually watching this later on, there's like 1,000 people to watch this later on. You have to make darn sure that you have your open order to actually, in this case, if you were short, buy the position back. You just have to, because this might have happened in a heartbeat. Zing, zing, right? You don't know how fast that was. This is Stamp, so I don't think Stamp allows margin trading, but it's just such a great. I mean, I got to tell you, this is what got me funded as a prop crude trader. And as we'll see on the bullish ones later on, it's you just don't know. I mean, that's the irony of it all. You just don't know. All right, let's put. We'll help you, Mohammed. No offense, but All right, so market came down into an objective, and it looks like just the tails, very typical action of a market that's probably got some buy orders down here. It's sort of like think of like beads of water hitting like a hot stove or something. You know how they sort of bounce off of the stove. Think of it sort of that way. Price gets down into this area. Oh, there's a buyer. Up it back goes, right? So that's sort of what I see happening there. Let's see what happened next. Oops. Litecoin, gotta say, this is starting to look a tag. Sometimes I do spelling mistakes on tweets. In fact, if it's just so blatant that it's brutal, I'll redo the whole tweet. But anyway, looks like a tag bit problematic. I think that was supposed to be tad. Anyway, for the bulls, and it's interesting. This Litecoin here, man, it is really fighting at this trend line. It's remarkable. I don't know whether I'll show you this in a bit, but I was looking at this market and it's still just fighting like the dickens right off of this trend line here. It's such a powerful line. So yeah, I mean, I got to say, as a guy looking at a price chart like this, I can't buy a market like this. If you're in a higher time frame set and it's working away, because I think there are other, even higher time frame bullish setups working away. Great, just keep working the trade. But man, it's awfully difficult to come in on the buy side on a chart that looks like that. Hey, caramba! It's giving you a vertigo. And I see a lot of markets like this, and it's getting a little bit bothersome, maybe a little too far too fast. I don't know. It's a tough one. All right, let's try that again. Oh boy, something doesn't look right. Yeah, actually, I think I did another spelling mistake, so that's exactly. I don't know what's going on with this tether, man, but stable coin kind of conversations, man, this thing is all over the map. And that really shocked me. I am not, obviously it turned out to be a non-event, but something happened on this tether instrument on Phoenix. Is it something to do with maybe somebody, because it was trading at a premium? And of course, Phoenix has been having that funny, price discrepancy sort of difference with the rest of the Bitcoin world for quite a while now. Maybe they're trying to resolve that. I don't know. But that jumped out at me. Turns out it was a non-event. Really, Brian just, off on some crazy tangent. But man, when I see something like that, I'm like, you know what? And I even sort of said, you know what? I've had enough of these quote unquote stable coins. They're just as speculative as everything else. Oh boy. Good old Cryptopia. Cryptopia. No, I didn't mean that. Beg your pardon. Cryptopia is trying to get their act together. So very, actually, it's probably a good thing we haven't heard anything from Cryptopia in a bit. Anyway, Quadriga. Oh my God, this, it's just terrible story. And I wouldn't be surprised if people actually make movie about it down the road. I in a weird sort of way, and it doesn't get me a lot of followers, and people really don't care. But I got to tell you, when I wake up in the morning and I load up the TRI lounge, and people are like, "Woo, bag it off doubles! Woo, look at this one! Oh, look at that one! Rock and roll!" And Joshua's got his funny memes going, and Jamie's rocking it, doing his thing. The whole TRI community. When I love, it just makes me feel so good. So that's sort of what these kind of things are. It's pretty, straightforward what we do at TRI. Hopefully everybody can see the W here. It's nice and pretty. And heck, you could have even taken this W or this W within this W if you want. I mean, it's all your trading plan. And there's the end result. Very ironically enough, very business as usual. And after you do one of these for a few years, run a plan like this, you'll understand that you're not always going to be right. But if you can especially sneak in, like this one was such a great example of trying to get in sort of below the POC, low end of value. If you can sneak in down here, wow, what a gift. Great part about crypto, of course, is 3 or 4 months ago, if you went out and asked, even sort of the Twitterverse and all that kind of stuff about altcoins, they would tell you that they're all, toast, and worthless, and whatever. All I care about is, do we have enough volatility to actually make money from trading, right? I mean, that's the whole point of this. This is the kind of volatility that you need to be able to make money at doing this. So, hats off to everybody for banging out doubles. And I see, in fact, you know what I even see, which is kind of weird, is I see now different sort of morphing of the banging out doubles sort of theme. There's one guy who every time he doubles his money, he goes like, ladies who are little and old, keep going, or something crazy like that, right? And then double, good. It's the weirdest thing. So it's taken on a life unto itself. It's morphing. It's I mean, really, I think I did my job, Jojo. I mean, I tell you guys, my wife, after she passed, she came to me probably about, I can't remember when that dream was, maybe about 3 or 4 months after she passed. And she said, I had a real opportunity to really help this world and change this world. And I think I've done my job, So it's not my information. Everybody in the stock market does this. I should trademark it, no, I'm going to head off into the sunset. I'm going to disappear, and hopefully I become sort of like a Satoshi Nakamoto kind of thing. Do you remember that Beamish guy, man? And I just, become like sort of the part of the crypto folklore. That would be kind of fun. But that's, I bet you 20 people right now are going to downvote the YouTube video going, oh, that narcissistic bastard, guys. So no, I have no desire for that. In fact, I'd rather just remain completely anonymous. Don't know me, don't want any fame, and I'll just leave it at that. Okay, we're done. Let's move on. I'm not a narcissist. I'm just here to try and help you guys. All right, so coming out of that AB equals CD, we had a nice consolidation. And I mean, you really don't know how the heck this thing's going to break either up or down. You just don't know. I thought it was interesting at this point, considering this is a reload zone. You guys have heard me talk about that lots. And, this is actually, ironically enough, even though it's the end of a bot trade setup, it's actually a trade location for harmonic traders called a PRZ, or a potential reversal zone. So, I don't know whether I could really justify pulling the long trigger, but, I could completely understand lots of traders who would. PRZs and reload zones, that's 2 reasons for a trade. I see a nice counter trend rally and then a dip that might have been like a 61.8 off of these. Candle bodies as trade locations, candle body lows. Look at that cheeky little level right in there, just so sick. And sure enough, you're right into that level, and then up she goes. I suppose you could have, bought this W, but that's not really the best trade location. Remember, I'm a reload zone kind of guy. So, I've been burned too many times buying this as trade location here. I suppose, you could have just waited for another W to sort of come in to maybe give you a smaller risk window. And then, of course, if this thing craps out and loses these lows, then that turns into an M. And my hunch is if you did a bot from here to here, here to here, this purple one, my hunch is that M level sets up off the 25 like really well. I didn't do it, but if somebody, if you guys on YouTube want to have some fun and play with this, respond to this video and show me that you understand how to draw bot levels. So that's kind of a cool interactive thing for you guys to do. We know in hindsight that the market moved higher, but it might be a good sort of exercise to just sort of see what the bearish resolution would have looked like and where the trade would have probably set up off of. But anyway, just having fun here. So long and short of it, on the 26th, price was consolidating. Which way was it going to break? I don't know. Nobody does. All right, so it turns out that she broke higher. Now this is kind of cool. So notice how, this big formation, that might have been a pretty tough pill to swallow. But there is sort of that bigger W. But notice what happens through here. Notice how price consolidates really tightly. Now, I wouldn't have a problem. Traders got to trade. I've been following this wedge. If the wedge breaks out, it looks like we're going to jump up into this reload short zone against the POC. I really wouldn't mind. It's a little bit tough for new people to trading, but this is actually what's called a narrow sideways channel, right? Right through there, and there. And you could just simply say, look, I'm going to buy a break of this high, and I'm going to place my stop just underneath the bottom of this channel. That would have given you a little bit better risk, risk reward, risk management sort of tool through that event. But it would have been predicated on your belief that, hey, this wedge is broken. The bulls are back in charge. So maybe look at your momentum indicators. Was volume breaking out on this breakout? Did you have any divergences? Was there bullish W's and OBVs, MACDs, RSIs, Williams percentage R's, stochastics, yada, 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 yada. Anyway, point of the matter here, boom, she broke to the upside. So, and as I said a moment ago, that M never did come in, did it? Nice run, nice pop. Of course, reload short zone, those bears are going to be like, all right, if I'm going to take a shot and I'm a bear, this is the zone where I want to take my shot. Also notice too, top of value, and then we talked about candle body highs and lows. Look at that shooting star. So that level is pretty important. That candle body closed and then open, that's pretty important. So it does make sense to me why the market sort of stalled heading into that sort of, what do you want to call it, pivot zone. Clearly here, sellers overwhelmed buyers, and then here, and then big time here, which caused this dump. So clearly there's a bunch of sellers sitting up here going, if it gets into this area, I'm going to hit her, right? So that's what that was there. All right, let's see how we do here. Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that the rule is that recessions usually happen. Well, that's cool, ED Venturis. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I'm hearing a lot of people saying that Google's making it very hard for this content to just fly out. So. And if anything, watch it later on. You don't need to watch it real time. You just listen to Brian ranting away. At least when you watch it later on, you can put me on 2x speed when I start going off on crazy tangents. Okay, so I think it's important to note that the rule is recessions usually follow like at least 6 months after the yield curve inversion, because you have to think about the mechanics of what the yield curve inversion means and what it implies. I don't, this would be one of those crazy tangents, so I don't think I'm going to do this today. Needless to say, we cover it in our education program. So if you want to pop into the education program, you can get schooled up on yield curve inversions. But the point of the matter here is just the rule of thumb is that recessions usually take about 6 months or so after the curve inverts. And even the guy who wrote the yield curve inversion thesis years and years ago, and people on Twitter were all rah, rah, rah. He even said in his thesis, and I mentioned it on the show, I think it's really important to note, he even said himself that the signal isn't valid unless the curve stays inverted for a whole quarter. So that's 3 months anyway. So. Okay, so, I'll leave it at that. I think the media got a little too, which is so typical, because they need something to talk about to explain what's going on in the market. But I think the media got a little too hardcore on that yield curve inversion event. All right, so whenever you see Brian make a reference in his tweets, all depends on what your definition of the word is. It's directly around this nonsense. We're basically, the irony of it all is that the Democrats are going to spend their whole time trying to derail Trump. Right? That's what it's the way the political game, and it's been played this way. Keep in mind, this the politics of today, ironically enough, they're not a hell of a lot different than about 100, almost really, you could argue even like 200 years ago in the United States of America. I mean, there was a real push during oh crap, I can't remember his name now. He was sort of the first populist U.S. president. Maybe you guys on YouTube, all you Americans, and you in the audience. Sally, what's his wife? His wife's got a Madison, Dolly Madison, right? So Madison, I think he was the first U.S. president to sort of not come from the sort of blue bloods that wrote the Constitution. I think that's who it was, but I think I might have that wrong. But and the political opponents spent their entire life trying to discredit him. And it's a famous story in American politics how he fought off the Congress. And you could argue, like I said, Ronnie back in the 80s, same thing. Tip O'Neill he used to make it a part of his life to try and nail, and they finally got him with Iran-Contra. Obviously, Tricky Dick, right? And all that. So anyway, it's kind of interesting, that the more times change, the more they stay exactly the same. This Mueller stuff and all that. I mean, it's so par for the course for U.S. federal politics. It's pretty normal. But anyway, I thought it was really interesting because I made reference earlier. Now, the Attorney General gets the report and he makes a summary report. And people were kind of like, we want the whole report. We want the whole report. And one of the main reasons why they did this was because, and it's funny how Monica Lewinsky herself, right, she like wins the internet, which I thought was hilarious, right? Because that guy, and the AG's report now is because of her. This would have never come to light if the AG under Clinton had been able to summarize that report. Andrew Jackson wasn't. No, not Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson, completely different guy. Anyway, hey, I mean, Lincoln, pre-U.S. Civil War, man, the politics in the States through his tenure, oh my goodness, acidic. And then, the guy who ran Tammany Hall in New York City, he was notorious, for politics, right? So anyway, what I just wanted to reference there, and I apologize, I went off on a tangent, but really nothing's really changed. But I do find it amusing how this got go around. Mr. Trump actually might be aided by Mr. Clinton and Miss Monica Lewinsky. And poor girl. I mean, it sounds like she's still suffering even to this day over all that nonsense. Oh, well, what can you do? Like I used to absolutely love working with and interacting with the gentleman who runs this show, Block Talk. Who was, I think he's a principal now in Ubik. I don't know what it is. I think he's head off on a different tangent in his life, but this is one of his famous interviews he did with the creators of Cabbage coin, Cabbage, although I can't see where Alex is. But Alex, if you are watching this YouTube video, sure miss you. There we are. There he is. Really famous person in this space. I would recommend following Alex, although he doesn't really talk too much in the public. I think he sort of said a year or so ago that he was just going to lay low. But yeah, he's doing Block Talk again and at D-Control. So he's back in the Lower Mainland. Anyway, a very nice gentleman, very knowledgeable, super, super, super knowledgeable. And he has his own show. He used to be part of the Coinage shows. Maybe one day, if we're lucky, he might come back and join us as sort of our fundamental expert. Anyway, the point is that he did an interview with the guys who were sort of the team behind Cabbage Coin or Cabbage, because they put an accent over the E or something on their Reddit page or whatever. So, and if anything, it's such a great example, Alex aside, but it's such a great example of how nasty this space can be. I mean, this guy just absolutely loses his lunch. I don't need to play it for you now. You can go watch the video yourself, but I would consider it almost like required watching, just so you understand very clearly from day one what you're getting involved in here trading these cryptocurrencies. This is the other side of the trade, and you have to be darn careful and don't set yourself up to be taken advantage of, because these guys will take advantage of you. So really, really good lesson. And, one of the main reasons why we do things like trade setups, why we're obsessed with location, why we're obsessed with things like risk management, because you never know when one of these guys is going to pop up out of the corner and bite you in the bum. So anyway, really good if anything, it's a good history lesson of crypto. And I think everybody here really should watch that video if you haven't. So as I sort of said earlier, through the beginning of the week, we rallied up into those old highs. You can see this is basically, if I change this to a line chart, you can see that that's a pretty darn important close line there. So that makes a big M, and there's a couple little M's inside this big M. So really, really important level there. Also, to our reload zone concept, 78.6. So really shouldn't surprise you. Brian's going to be thinking shorters are going to be active in here. And also, too, I think what ended up happening here, unfortunately, is you can see the M's all through here. So there were probably a lot of stop loss orders all building up through all of these highs. And the market, they just and then we went after the stops. And on this one event right here, which took out this high and took out this high, that one candle, that was probably like all stop loss orders right in there. But nonetheless, rallied up. And I noticed that the market rallied into this level like literally like 4 or 5 times. Which is interesting, right? Because when I used to work with prop traders, they used to always say, I mean, first off, like one of the hardest things to do as a day trader is to hit a level on a chart, because 9 times out of 10, when a market comes into a very specific level, it actually is trying to make you think that it's going to do the exact opposite. So for instance, in this case, as we're coming into this 78.6, which I think is a pretty important level, the market's going to be like looking face rippy, like, oh my God, everything's straight up. It's going to the moon. This is it, guys. We're going to get rich now. And then it just craps out. It's so, I mean, I'll tell you, I've been doing this for 30 fucking years. That's the way this damn game works. And same thing, they did it again. Okay, this is it. Okay, we're going to go. And then it craps out again. And then another one. Okay, this is it. And of course, notice they take out these highs. They take out these highs. So, the poor kids who did short this and they had their stops right nice and tight, they, of course, get punched out. I mean, capitalism. Oh, geez. It can be evil. If anything, if I was hitting this level, I think you actually have to have the balls to actually have your stop up here. So that's why you avoid this. These are just like little stop runs on top of this big stop run up here. But anyway, the point is that, I used to hear this from the pit traders all the time, that if you hit a level and then after and this is like day trading crude, after about, let's say half hour, 45 minutes, if the trade really hasn't gone your way, it probably isn't. And this is sort of the message that I kind of got here, was the market kept trying to get up into here. And of course, this is a shorting level. So those day traders, they got to hit this. Probably if we put on like fast moving averages, my hunch is guys like Mountain Man and Hogue and stuff. And if we put on like, day trade volume profiles, that's probably the POC right in this area here and here. My hunch is those guys are hitting these levels and then taking partial profits on a return to a moving average or return to POC or something. and then stop to scratch on remaining, and they get blown out on the remaining. So what? They already made their money on, their sort of daily bread, if you will, on the move back to the POC or moving average. And that happened like once, twice, three times. And, when I was looking at this chart, I was thinking, after a while, the market just keeps going to a level and it gets rejected, but then it doesn't break. This actually turns into like a consolidation. Right? And now you have to start thinking, Jesus, that if they can't break it down, then get ready. It might take off on the upside. So that's sort of what I was thinking. But the thing is, if you are a range trader, that's a pretty good level to be short from. I really don't mind that, looking for a dump down into these areas. But, this is an hourly chart. So, you're a day trader kind of guy. And it's interesting, too, how one of our longtime site participants, he says, I don't trade Bitcoin through the weekends because I don't know what the hell is going to happen. If this happened Monday through Friday, fine. New York boys probably doing their thing, Chicago boys, whatever. But once we get into the weekend, all bets are off. So it's an interesting perspective. And I think it's saved his butt a couple times. I absolutely love this, right? And this is exactly why I teach these courses. I love it. And if anything, it was such a good testament to being patient and disciplined. And we had just an absolute shitty, what I've called repeatedly on these public broadcasts, the hangover, right? Where the market's just got to get through we almost like consistently have every 4 years. First off, we get these damn face rip rallies up. And I got to tell you guys, I mean, it's remarkable how consistent this is. So there is the bottom, 2011, 2000, what was this? 14, 15, 2015. Then we spend like a year consolidating that bottom. Same thing happened here and here. The bottom came in way over here, consolidation. Then we go into face rip mode. I mean, it's quite remarkable, like I said, how consistent this is. Then, following face rip mode, we got to go into the hangover, where we give a chunk of that rally back. Basically, we did exactly the same thing this year, really no different. I still, where are we now, right? So that's the hangover. We go like that. I mean, it's shocking how consistent this is. So, and like typical 4-year business cycle and the halvening and all that kind of talk, right? Actually, ironically enough, it makes perfect sense. Anyway, so where are we now? I still think we're in sort of chop Vegas mode. We're trying to find that bottom. What was the tweet in reference to? Where was that tweet? Here it is here. So, through Chop Vegas and the last Chop Vegas market that when we went through, we had crazy stories like Archcoin, right? Where a lot of people made a lot of money off of Archcoin. And I'm not necessarily saying this is the bottom. And of course, it's all Lambos and jets from here on up. I think we're in Chop Vegas, which means that a lot of names are simply going to do things like 38.2 bounces off of those ranges. And because this space is so incredibly volatile, that even 38.2 bounces in our lounge, we've got one gentleman, there he is. Look at that. Isn't that interesting, Joshua? You made reference to Jojo there, right? It's beautiful to watch this guy. I mean, he's learned this. I think he's going to be an extremely wealthy gentleman zooming around in his Tesla. Even like bounces back to 38.2s now are producing like doubles and triples and quadruples for people. It's quite shocking. And I love how Joshua comes on the site consistently and is like, well, only 10x on a move back to 38.2. I mean, there's so much money to be made here, people. Oh my goodness, it's ridiculous. And it's just great. It's so awesome to see that our students and our site members had the patience and discipline just to cool your jets. Do you remember, Joshua, how many month after month after month? Post that GIF of yours of the jet. I mean, literally, let's see if I can find it. We literally posted this same damn image for like 6 months straight. There was just nothing you could do. The market had to just calm down. And we can actually technically say that that market state is over now. But where the hell's that damn image? God, was it that long ago when we posted it? I guess we've gone in since we rallied. I haven't posted it that much. There's Kevin fishing. Yeah. Anyway. Well, I don't know. Can you see? La 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 la. You see that movement there, Tony? I'm just not really showing anything of any value right now. But this tweet here is so valuable because really, Tony, this is what I need to get you to, is to where this gentleman is. Well, I mean, these smart guys who actually have bought the punch and the Kool-Aid and they're actually following their trading plans. I mean, they're making ridiculous money right now. There's another guy who I love to promote. He pops on the site every once in a while. He's a veteran out of representing Ventura, California. And actually, they're a dynamic duo. They're a brother team. But Daniel and Oscar Riviera. I think I pronounced their last name correct. If I butchered it, I apologize, gentlemen. But man, those guys, they are just tearing the market up right now. It's just so cool to watch. So anyway, the point here is that, these guys they're just they're killing the market right now. So way to go, Andrew. And what I also heard too is that there's like, triples. Hey, there's Oscar. Rivera, not Riviera. Rivera. I apologize, Oscar. But yeah, I mean, if your brother's around, say hi to him. I mean, hey, there's Andrew. Yeah. Dude, well, seriously, dude, you're. I mean, I don't have any worries about you now, dude. You're gonna be that banging out doubles, spinning tunes. Another 2 doubles today, oh, you bastard! Way to go, man. Way to go for the win. All right, so moving this thing right along. TA lesson for the day, and this is why you remember I showed you a week or two ago, me got to remember to try and help, got to remember to, PMA for the win, all that kind of stuff. I like putting these kind of pieces out. If you happen to watch this video through the week, I like putting these kind of pieces out as, just what do you think? Is that not a bad image to throw in your journal? I mean, if you're brand new to trading, that's ridiculous. I could literally teach a whole damn course on just what you see on this screen here. And in fact, actually, a lot of the level 1 stuff is basically what is on this screen. Own pollution. Do you see all the stuff that we teach you in the level 1 course on this screen? Yeah, that's good. Dennis, how about you? Plus, all right. Plus, Vlad, actually, are you in our level 2 class? Is that you with me in the level 2? Same Vlad? Or is that a different Vlad? Because you just finished the level 1, I suppose. Oh, maybe you can't hear me. All right. Anyway, are there any other level 1ers here? I know Owen and Dennis. And actually, where's our all-star? Colleen. Oh, I miss her. Oh, well. All right, keep moving on. Anyway, the point of the matter here is if you ever see the market smiling at you, be careful. Visiting family. Oh, okay, cool. B Bloom. Are you in our level 1 program? Yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir. All right, cool. Well, if you ever see the market smiling at you, hopefully you go, oh, that looks like a level 1 concept. Market structure. And then what's really cool about this is now we have these extensions starting to come into play. And I do like how the extension levels, things like 1.27, 272, 144.5, yeah, it's kind of an interesting level, but look how it lines up really nicely with that AB equals CD. So, which happens to be in a reload zone, which also happens to have, and Vlad, now, if you're watching, I think he's a level 2er. He just did price gaps. So now hopefully he looks at this and goes, oh, okay, I can see all these gaps that need filling in too. So, I mean, just such a great analogy of what we do as technicians. All right, and then this is the House of Representatives are controlled by the Democratic Party in the United States of America right now. So shouldn't surprise us that here comes the other side. And gee whiz, and what's kind of funny is I don't really follow U.S. politics too closely. Trust me, there's plenty of scandals going on in Canada right now for us to. I don't even think I tweeted anything out. It's so confusing, this scandal. Basically, the Canadian Prime Minister is being like literally accused of trying to force the Attorney General to drop a criminal case against a corporation that I guess is has the Prime Minister in their back pocket. So I'm not going to say that Canadian politics is any better or worse. I mean, everybody should know what Brian thinks. How do we tell when a politician is lying to us? Yeah, I mean, it's same poop, different pile, eh? Well said, Graham. Anyway, so here is, and now obviously the world's economic engine, the biggest economy in the world, basically the creditor driver, biggest military in the world. Obviously, what goes on in the United States of America politically is far more significant than what's going on in a backwater burg like Canada. But the point here is that this is sort of the other side now coming back with their rebuttal. Very heated, very emotional, quite shocking, really. But such a good commentary of the world we live in. There's Brexiting. Don't get Jamie started on Brexiting. Now, I thought this was really cool. One of our current, actually, we were just chatting with him there on the YouTube page, Joshua. He had actually mentioned, and I had tweeted out previously, that we actually had a point and figure buy signal on Bitcoin on the New York Bitcoin index issued off of Mr. Murphy's. Remember, I had said I really like Mr. Murphy's site. And actually, if we go GBTC, this is this crazy closed-end OTC fund, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. It sort of follows Bitcoin, but also sort of doesn't. But you have to understand about OTC products to understand that. But the bottom line here, and what I wanted to point out, was it actually issued, excuse me, it actually issued a new point and figure buy signal. So recently on this, I think it was NYBTC. I think that's what it was. Not sure if I got that right or not. I think that's it, but I could be mistaken. No, I'm mistaken. What the hell is that symbol? Oh yeah, here it is. Oh man, old man, I can't see what the hell that says. Looks so blurry. That's terrible. I'm going blind. NYXBT. Yeah, there we go. Let's try that again. NYXBT. Nope. NYXBT. So it is. Huh? There it is. NYXBT. Okay, let's try this one more time. Paste. Update. Yeah, there we go. So that actually registered a point and figure double top breakout on 18th of March, 2019, which is kind of cool. And of course, very few people in the market follow point and figure studies right now. But the point that I just wanted to make was that, gee whiz, here comes another point and figure signal and Joshua happened to catch this one. And one of the reasons why I absolutely love our website, this whole 1 + 1 = 3, we all sort of work together to try and make better trades, identify opportunities, blah, 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 blah. And so this is Joshua. There he is, hanging out down in Southern California. And it was interesting, this GBTC I think this signal came in a little bit earlier, back in February. But I thought that was just really cool. Point and figure charting, really kicking butt on the site. So, and basically it's bullish at crypto right now. So go figure. Or Bitcoin. I used to be an options broker. Not going to give you advice. I teach you on the site how to build trading plans and how to make reasonable decisions on your own. I do not give advice. What I simply say is, hey, this is a trade that I'm doing. And again, sort of that more want to be transparent with you guys, want to give you people out in the public value. I don't want you to feel like I'm a total shill. I'm just simply another guy in the marketplace. I've been doing this a while. So if you need help and sort of setting yourself up for success, I think that's where I really give you good value. I don't really like touters. Here's a really good example. This is a trade that I did in my own personal account. Nice trend line break. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 tests of this trend line. Finally, it broke. Little bit of a signal here, but I really didn't like the location. I really wanted to see if the market could come back against this original double bottom, which it basically did, and it held the lows, and it put in another W here, which I think, technically speaking, looks pretty good. I didn't necessarily want to go and buy the stock, so I just took a look at the call options and a 12.5 call right here. You can see the 52-week range is 16.5-ish. So the 12.5 call should be worth the better part of $4 at a 50% level. So I was trading at $1.25. So that means that I could comfortably double my money if I went and bought this, just from a pure technical perspective. Buying lots and lots of time, January 2020. Love. I mean, the rule of TRISOF is just simply to buy at least 6 months of time. And that's the whole sort of Gann principle of the way price and time move. But if I can buy more than 6 months, even better. So this is like a leap into next year. And they've got a product that IKEA is going to sort of integrate into their showrooms, I guess, into their product offerings. So they've got a captive audience, relatively respectable looking product. The only issue is I think delivery isn't like until the fall. But put it all together, I'm going to throw $375 US at this trade. Better part of $400 or $500 Canadian. With the anticipation that could very realistically turn into like 1,000, 1,200 Canadian, if not more, maybe 1,500 Canadian. And as always, in these trades, what I like to do is buy an odd lot, and then on the double in price, so I'll offer 2 at $1 or $2.50. If I can get that fill, then that gives me all my original money back plus a nice little 10-20% return. And then I've got the freebie, and we'll just manage the freebie. If we get up above this 1642 area on any kind of insane-o move, I might blow it out at a nice profit. I've done that a few times here on the site recently. We had a really good gold trade, same sort of principle. NASDAQ last fall, the exact opposite. One of our recent level 3 grads was actually helping me TA the level 2s this year. He and I run an options club every Tuesday, so we're constantly reviewing ideas. And this one jumped out at me, and frankly speaking, I got a good fundamental story. I got a good half decent technical story. The options formula that I used to run as an options broker lines up. So what the hell? Take your shot, spin the wheel, and take your chances. Not giving advice. If you like the trade, you can join me. Consult your financial professional as to the applicability of the trade given your current financial circumstances. Blah, 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 blah. Legalese, legalese. This is kind of a fun trade. I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was somebody online who was like on Twitter, social media, all that kind of stuff. It was like, well, these are my bags. These are the ideas that I really like fundamentally. I was like, I pulled up the charts. In fact, I think I could even just show it to you. That stuff away. Here. I pulled up the charts, looked at my levels where I'd be interested in participating, and threw in some bids. You can see I just picked up this HXRO. So that one's still in the wheelhouse. It's sitting there just going, la, 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 look at me. And nobody's even the slightest bit interested. This thing's going to take off like a rocket, and then all of a sudden everybody's going to be like, oh, should I buy it now? Should I buy it now? It's like, it drives you crazy. Anyway, something like this expanse, you can see my bid. They might just leave me in the dust. Shift, same sort of thing. I might adjust the fib off of that, but there's a cheeky little gap there. If I can get it at that level, that's where I want to own it. Ubik, actually, we talked in that recent Coinigy show. I still think he needs to come down a bit more here. There's the MUE. I heard Not So Fast. He seems to really like this idea too. Still got my bid working. There's nothing to do right now. I did get filled on this expanse, so got a nice little cheeky fill. But you could argue that gap is still open because this candle, it was just a tail. It wasn't an actual body. So you might actually see that this gets filled down the road. That wouldn't shock me at all. So if you want to join me, you're welcome. There was this one, which I found quite amusing. I was all pissed off because I think I even talked about this in like recent, public videos and stuff. This was just the most beautiful bottom. I mean, it was just perfect. It was absolutely textbook. And I missed it. And not only did I miss it, look how much I missed it by. This is ridiculous. So I had my bid working at what was it? Something like 500 and change. Anyway, I won't waste your time. We'll call it 558. I think it was somewhere right around here. And look how close they came to filling me, and just said, sorry, Brian. Again, those other charts, there's a gap open there, so really shouldn't surprise us. Price needs to come down there. But they brought it down into here, and look how close they came to filling me, but no fill. Sorry, no fill for you. So, that's the way life goes sometimes as a trader. I didn't get really upset, but, I was a little bitter. And, of course, the thing just took off. Now, the interesting thing is the price objective here was basically a double, right, off of that level. And so, and I think I remember, maybe if I did, I might have, I can't remember, but I did definitely on the site say, well, we can't chase this thing. We just got to leave it alone. And interesting too, if you actually drew a fib going this direction, look how basically that was just a rally right into shorting zone. All right, you could actually argue that if you were going to short this thing, and I don't know whether you can or not, but if you were going to short this, that's actually where you want to do it. So a really good lesson there too. If I understand the story correctly, somebody got a whole bunch of these, just went on BitterX and just slammed the bid and just basically market sell, right? And just killed the order book to get their fill. And then I don't know whether they took their Bitcoin and just effed off or whether they bought something else. I honestly don't know. But the point of the matter here is market came down, filled me, ding, 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 ding. Thank you very much. And then, BitterX halted the trading. And I just had it on the corner of my eye. As soon as I started seeing the candle fluctuating again, I just went on to BitterX, threw my order in to sell half on a double, and I got my fill, just like literally within an hour after it came back trading. The coin and all of them later came out and said it was a motivated seller. Some guy was just dumping coins. Everything's fine on the tube network, whatever. And I was just like, okay, well, I mean, really, the whole purpose of this trade was to generate a quote unquote free position, sell half on a double. Technically, your risk on the remaining position is zero. So my objective was met. Now I've got these free coins sitting on the books. And to me, this is a total home run. I got my original Bitcoin back in my hands, and now I'm sitting on free coins. I have no idea what's going to happen to this thing. It might, back right up against these lows. It might go to new lows. It might go to new highs. It might face rip. But my risk on the trade is zero now, so I'm perfectly happy. So that was kind of a funny sort of on the way to the forum. What happened to me today? Really odd, but great. Odd, but great analogy of number one, why little old lady strategy works so well. Because really, if I had bought here and it sat down here and maybe even went lower, it wouldn't have been the end of the world. I would not have blown up my account. And I'm not really in any hurry, and I didn't chase, and I was disciplined just to leave my order. If I wanted to own this thing, where did I want to own it? And I got a bit lucky. The gods were kind to me. So I think we said the double happened in about 2.5 hours. So I rounded it up to 3 hours. So that's a nice treat. What can you say? Sort of heading into the weekend, was quite pleased to see this. And I think I had said earlier that I was going to talk about a bullish bot on Bitcoin that's working. We had been talking about bearish ones. That was sort of this move down here off the lower time frames. And if anything, this gives you a really good analogy. Like now we're zoomed out to the daily chart. So we're talking higher time frames here. And it sure looks to me, I mean, there's no guarantees from the management. Nobody knows exactly what's going to happen in this world. Anybody who does tell you that they know for sure, they're full of horse hockey. I'm sorry. Nobody knows what the hell's going to happen in this world. I used to know but I broke my crystal ball, right? That's how the silly saying goes. So we actually had there was a video that was, and this guy, super popular guy, total rock and roller, avocado toast, all that kind of stuff. He's the man, that kind of stuff. Doing videos and stuff. And I even noticed that actually the feed after my video showed his video, which surprised me a little bit. But nonetheless, maybe YouTube is starting to clump these together. I was a little concerned at how crowded the short trade was getting down here. And I was worried that we might get this sort of push back up against the upper end of the range. We got that. DAV on our recent coinage shows was thinking, 1.618. So I'm not quite sure if it's off of these levels or not. But I did find it really interesting that when I did an extension off of this range here to here, 127 happens to line up nicely with that failure right there. You can clearly see there are a bunch of trap bears in that candle bulls, beg your pardon. Bulls in that candle that would love nothing more than just to get released. And then also too, if we go A, B off of this, everybody and their brother was bearish. I mean, it's just remarkable how bearish everybody was. And, in hindsight, you can see, well, that probably wasn't the best idea. AB equals CD takes us up into that level. I'm feeling like this market it sure would like to push up into this area. And if we get the stock market going into like orgy mode, I could totally see that happen. And this gentleman that I made reference to just a moment ago, he likes the idea that the stock market is highly correlated with crypto and vice versa. Maybe crypto is highly correlated with the stock market. I don't know. So, if stock market does go super bull, it's awfully tough for me to make the bearish argument right here. I think if anything, you have to let this play itself out. it was such a great analogy, 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows, 4 lows, like the market just setting up, nice double bottom off of that bod level. And even that insult to injury, the most beautiful Wycovian check of the breakout level, this bar right here, check, move to new highs. I mean, it's almost poetic, really. But anyway, the point of the matter here is those people that had the balls to take this at 38.75 move stop to scratch level on this bought trade of this particular pattern. Was sitting at 40.88, and I had sort of even tweeted out this morning that one of the sort of best feelings for a trader, and I see this happen with a lot of my veteran traders, is once they're far more happier when the 50% of the anticipated move is hit than they are than when the targets hit. When the targets hit, you're like, yeah, okay, all right. I mean, woohoo, we won, right? But the biggest anxiety event is actually around this 50% level getting hit. Because once you hit this 50% level, then you move your stop to scratch and you're just like, whatever happens, happens. If she craps out here and blows through these lows, I'll just walk away at scratch. Big fucking deal. Right? It's all through this period here that you have the most anxiety because you got your ass on the line. And this risk window is still very open. And actually, Own was very, I think he's all jazzed about an ETH bot that's still sort of, it hasn't hit this 50% level. So he's still sort of like, oh, God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? But once this 50% level is hit, and I would say that it's very comfortably hit here now, on this particular setup, you just move your stop to scratch. And really the way I'd look at it here is probably risk against these lows. But if you want to just simply put it a couple ticks above this entry level, so, if it does come back to the POC, it means that this bull move is lost its inertia, and you're probably best just to hop off and sit on the sidelines. Ideally, what we want to see, of course, is this is nice little midpoint consolidation, nice doji after a big move. And we go take out this doji high, and we just go zoop, straight up into like levels where we can actually start thinking about locking in profits. But I can tell you, and this is both from my personal experience, but it's also, I see it in our traders that we've trained on the site. The biggest anxiety relief is on this event right there. And I think I've told you before that, like, Mountain Man would be shorting like 61.8 in here. I'd be long from here. And as long as this level here is hit, I couldn't give a rat's ass. If we'd just be sitting there in the lounge, Mountain would be short, I'd be long. We'd be like, man, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see what happens. All right, what's going on in your neck of the woods? Oh, yeah, how's the powder today? Blah, blah, blah. So anyway, huge sigh of relief for botters when that 50% level is hit. And, the irony of it all is only like a real pro trader is actually going to understand what I mean by that. You have to be there. And actually, it's cool to see Own Pollution, who's actually a level oneer. He's put a lot of time and effort into his education. I'm actually pretty proud of you, sir. And he's actually here saying so true. So it sounds to me like you have put the time and effort in to understand what a pro trader's life is all about, trading setups. Some talk about macroeconomics and the effect of asset moves, blah, blah, blah. Now, actually, this is an interesting end to our conversation today. Like I said, for the botters, now it's a zero sum. No, that's not the right term. It's so what kind of market. I mean, I know that's probably not the best way to describe it. Where is it? Did I put? Is that chart around here somewhere? Over here. Is it over here? Nope. Fudge. Too many damn charts. My head's gonna explode. Oh, it's right in sort of midstream there too. I think it should be right here. Oh, okay. Well, I'll use this one. It's fine. AB equals CD, move stop to scratch. If we do come back down to scratch, like I said, it's probably best that maybe if you're a bull, you just hop off and just let the dust settle. And ideally, what you want to see is just a nice continuation move, boom, up here, something along these kind of lines. And then, of course, on that big pop, the public's going to be coming in. Oh, everybody got my Bitcoin, right? But you're going to be hopping off and taking profits and sort of letting the dust settle at that point. But that's not what I wanted to show you. Where the heck did I put that chart? Oh, darn. I lost my train of thought. Okay, well, I find it really interesting that we're coming up to actually a really important event here. I'm a really big fan of high to low trend lines, where you take a swing high, and then if we break to new highs, whatever the reactionary low is, and then if you break to that new high, that becomes a pivot low. So you got a pivot high and a pivot low. This is what I like to call a high to low trend line. There's probably another name for it, but this is how I refer to it. Hugely significant level here, in my opinion. And you can see how we came up into that level. Initially, we actually knee-jerked off of it. We even sort of kind of dojied and went, "Oh, do we really want to lose this level?" And then you can see, yep, we want to lose it. No, we don't want to lose it. No. Okay, well, maybe we do. Oh, Jesus, we lost it. And interesting, too, how this little potential trend line is actually parallel to that line, which I find fascinating. So clearly, there's something significant about the price action right in here. And then notice rally up to that trend line again, rejected. Never did come back to this little itty bitty trend line, right? And then here we are. Oh, we're bucking up against that resistance level again. And then notice we have this downtrend line. And this is, what I would consider as an active trend line. You got beautiful market structure that was confirmed basically on this candle here, validating this. And I think a lot of people in the public also see this trend line. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty obvious. So we have this sort of subtle line that I don't think a lot of people in the public see, but I think actually is extremely important. And really probably defines whether Bitcoin is in a bull or a bear. And you can see how we're just humming back and forth. Whoa, support. Oh, failed. Resistance. Oh, okay, resistance. All right, now what's going to happen? Here we are. We obviously, if we, go and actually really eyeballing it, and what's really weird is that probably over the next 3 or 4 hours, as sort of Monday morning starts for Asia, this candle is going to move all over the place. And I often come back after Liam and I see, holy crap, price took off, or oh crap, price collapsed. So I have no idea whether this weekly bar is going to finish like this. Tough to say. But interestingly enough, if we actually do close here, that might actually give us a clothesline double bottom right there. But anyway you shake it, this is a hugely important crossroads here. This is you don't often see this, right? Where you have this much, high to low trend line, down trend line, horizontal support and resistance, all coming together at an exact apex. Now, what should happen? Well, no, I'm not going to say what should. If you're a bull, what you would hope would happen is we pop through here, and now this, what was resistance, now becomes support going forward. That's ideally what we'd like to see. But, this week's still young, and we haven't broken through this yet. Now, as I had said earlier, those bot traders, they've taken their longs. They are positioned for this event. We might just get a big pop as we sort of release the energy pent up in this apex event, which might pop price up into that 5,000 area, which gives them all their juicy fills at the AB equals CD targets. And then we find out what happens on the other side of this event, whether this breakout actually holds. So that's sort of what I'm thinking right now is we're coming up to a very, very important event here. And how this resolves is probably going to dictate the path of Bitcoin for the next while. I really do believe it. Big event here. Did find it interesting sort of to finish this off because here we are now, we're back to today. And that was about an hour, right? So that's good. Hopefully it wasn't too long today. Did find it interesting that Litecoin also too seems to be coming into a real apex here. So goes over here. We should probably talk about that crazy thing. But you can see, as where's the best place to show you? As Bitcoin came up and broke to new highs, interesting, Litecoin did not break to new highs. If you are in this bot, remember we talked about it, stop to break even hit, and it came down and it missed your stop by like 20, 30 cents. Trade's still valid, trade's still working. Really, there's nothing to do here. Just big hurry up and do nothing, but clearly, if we am out here and lose this level, those botters better get the hell out of there, stop at scratch, and walk away. But I would say right now we're in a narrow sideways channel. And I've said repeatedly to the public audience, and I totally believe this, that Litecoin is sort of leading the charge here. That's this image, right? Where Litecoin is actually transitioned into a bull market. You can see Bitcoin is just now playing with its 13 EMA, right? That's where Litecoin was back, where is that? January, right? So what are we? We're in April now, right? Bitcoin's got quite a bit of catching up to do just to get back on par with Litecoin. We noticed that Tron was actually the first one to turn up and still holding in here. If you're hunting fractals off of here, I mean, it's not the best trade location. If anything, what you'd love is a nice little dip into this reload zone against these lows and then a jackknife away, kind of like that tube thing. Looks like EOS is trying to turn the corner here. Broke 13, broke 30. Couldn't get up through this high, though. What was that? 453.7, 447. So it couldn't quite break out there. But I'd be watching that. That obviously is going to be a key sort of fundamental driver event. Well, no, I can't call it fundamental. Technical driving event. If the market can get up through there. And if that does happen, that will probably force the moving averages to close back positive. But it hasn't happened yet. So can't put the cart before the horse. But as we had sort of said recently, I was looking for a pullback in Litecoin. And you notice, this is actually what's called a fractal. So we can actually see that the fractal now is fully formed. Owen, can you see that fractal now? Boom, boom, boom. And you want help seeing the fractals, right? You can put on, for all you YouTubers, well, there's not very many people watching on YouTube today. No. Anyway, looks like I'm going to have to save this and then update it. But you can put a little tool on the TradingView charts that will actually highlight that fractal. I think they call it Williams fractal. There it is. Do we get one here? Doesn't look like it's showing it. Maybe it shows up on the daily. Well, maybe it has to confirm first. There was one there. Boom, boom, boom. And there's one there. Boom, boom, boom. That's funny. I would have thought maybe they have to have this thing finish its candle before it prints. But this might be a fun exercise for you to follow, see what happens. Draw up your weekly Phoenix chart. If this thing finishes in here, then that should create a fractal right here. And as we'd sort of shown you earlier, that narrow sideways channel, that top, the move stop to scratch level. If we take that out, then that's your fractal top, and then we can start thinking about those 38.2 moves to the downside and checks of moving averages. So I kind of think that, our tail, ironically enough, is going to be Litecoin. But we'll see how we do here. Good to see, like I said, Bitcoin making new relative highs here. So bullish bots are still just working away, doing their thing. Excuse me. Put that back. Now, if this fractal fires here on Litecoin, my hunch is we're probably going to see the whole market come off here a bit. Right. I think that's about all I wanted to talk to you guys about today. So that was about an hour and a half. Hope you enjoyed the presentation and you got some good value out of what I offered today. I think, yeah, why don't we leave it at that? I'm going to go have an awesome afternoon with the boy here locally in Vancouver. I will continue to tweet out interesting ideas as they come by my desk. And of course, if I happen to see something happen on crypto, I'll tweet that out and we'll talk about it in next week's show. So have yourselves a great day. I'll see all you regulars in the Daily Brief first thing tomorrow morning. All the best and bye for now.